This video is sponsored by Tsuburaya Productions itself, because I thirsted so hard about Ultraman on Twitter that they noticed me. Have you ever heard of Ultraman? Unless you're an Asian kid, you probably don't know much about it. Even if you were an Asian kid, it might just be a vague memory from your childhood. But this face is at least a little bit familiar, isn't it? That's because Ultraman is a cornerstone of Japanese pop culture. If you're into anime, manga, or video games made in Japan, you have absolutely seen at least one Ultraman reference. Unfortunately, Ultraman itself didn't quite stick a landing in the West because of various issues, such as bad import timing, having the American versions of the shows be too disconnected to stick in the cultural consciousness, and questionable dubs. And I mean, there was legit a 4Kids dub, with the voice of Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Voicing the protagonist Daigo.
True. That creature's gotta be Melba.
Looks like my mother-in-law.
Yeah, you're right.
No, her nose is bigger.
But there's a resemblance.
But at least we got to hear the voice of Seto Kaiba chanting about Ultraman.
He's the one restoring time. Save the world. Ultraman. He's the hope for all mankind. Save the world. Ultraman. Ultraman. Larger than life. Ultraman.
So anyway, Ultraman is criminally unknown in the West despite being a huge household name in Asia. But it's a legitimately thoughtful and classic sci-fi franchise. I would rank it on par with Star Trek. So I am here to introduce you to the impact it's had on Japanese popular media. And I'm telling you, this includes inspiring stuff from Pokemon to many aspects of Evangelion. But first, in case you have no idea what Ultraman is, let me explain. Basically, they are gigantic heroes of light here to save humanity from attacks by ferocious kaiju, and they either fuse with a human host or take human form to blend into human society when the attacks aren't happening. Usually, they use this disguise to join humanity's designated anti-kaiju defense team, though not all shows in the franchise have the defense team gimmick, especially the shows made on smaller budgets. But all shows do give the Ultraman transformation a timed limit of around 3 minutes. This time limit, and the iconic color timer on most Ultras chests, which will start beeping when their time starts running out, was first created to save production budget, because the fight scenes were very expensive to shoot. And also it made the fight scenes more tense. The usual in-universe explanation though is that Ultras derive energy from sunlight, but the Earth's atmosphere is too polluted, so they can only sustain their giant form for up to 3 minutes at most. In the first few shows, the Ultras were aliens from a super sleek and utopian civilization in the M78 Nebula, but later shows have had Ultras from different regions, such as far in the future, 30 million years in the past, or as a manifestation of the will of the Earth itself. But what they have in common is that when humanity is in danger by forces beyond the scope of what they can handle, the Ultras will transform out of their human disguise and battle the threat, usually in a set full of miniature buildings, shot at a low angle with a wide lens to give the illusion of giants fighting in a city. The use of specialized filming techniques like this is iconic to the Japanese media genre of tokusatsu, meaning special filming. A lot of sci-fi and fantasy stuff like Godzilla and Power Rangers, also known as Super Sentai in original Japanese, fall under this genre. In fact, Ultraman was created by one of Godzilla's creators, the legendary Eiji Tsuburaya. The very creation of Ultraman was actually partially motivated by his studio wanting to do something with the expensive miniature sets left behind after Godzilla finished shooting. In one episode of the original 1966 Ultraman, a rubber suit of Godzilla even gets repurposed as a kaiju by just adding a collar around it. Totally not Godzilla, guys. Also, yes, Ultraman was created in 1966. That's exactly 55 years ago. So when I say it's on the same level as Star Trek, I mean longevity-wise too. And most entries in the franchise hold up well even if you watch them decades later, no matter what age you are. Because Tsuburaya Productions was a family company for most of those 55 years, they're extremely committed to the art of tokusatsu, constantly challenging themselves and innovating their craft. The first few Ultra shows especially are sci-fi classics. They were produced by a generation of creators who either lived through World War II or its immediate after effects, not to mention that the Cold War and space race were still going on. So these creators had a lot to say about war, imperialism, and foreign invasion, and they channeled it using kaiju as allegories. Ultraman may seem like just a campy show about giant heroes wrestling giant monsters at first glance, but trust me, watch a few episodes and you'll realize that there is a lot of social commentary going on. They've done plenty of episodes that question humanity's tendency to judge whatever looks like the other. There was an episode where the kaiju turned out to be a mutated human astronaut abandoned in space, an episode where the Ultra hero discovers that humans may have conquered Earth from another species, and even an episode where the Ultra almost gives up on humanity because of how cruelly they treated someone they discovered was an alien. There have also been thinly veiled critiques of Imperial Japan's actions in World War II, the use of nuclear bombs, the dumping of medical waste, and of course, climate change. Ultraman has never been afraid to go places. Being one of the most popular and enduring franchises in Japan, the ideas in Ultraman have had widespread influence on Japanese popular media. First off, Pokemon. One of its major inspirations was the Capsule Kaiju used by Ultra 7, the second Ultra hero created and my current fictional crush.
ウィンダム頼むぞ
Yes, that's right. My man Ultra 7 was the ancestor of all Pokemon trainers. Funny thing is, Capsule Kaiju weren't even that big of a part of the show. Like, they were only used occasionally when 7 couldn't fight himself for whatever reason. The Ultra franchise never treated it like a big deal, but Nintendo took the idea 30 years later and ran with it. This speaks to the sheer sci-fi imagination of Ultra 7. Unlike Hayata in Ultraman, who is just a human host, Ultra 7 transforms directly into the protagonist Mamuru Oshi. It was the first Japanese show to feature an alien as the protagonist, and it really is something else. Like, half its episodes are wacky Monster of the Week escapades, while the other half are committed to wrecking you psychologically. Since 7 comes from a much more utopic and peaceful civilization, he basically views things from a semi-divine perspective, and some of the stuff he watches humans do, like engaging in arms races, really gets to him. He's like, oh no, what are you doing? The show dares to ask the question, are humans really worth protecting with all the cruel and destructive things we do to each other and every other species?
忘れるなタン地球は狙われているんだ今の我々の力では守りきれないような強大な侵略者がきっと現れるその時のために超兵器が必要なんですね決まってるじゃないか侵略者は超兵器に対抗してもっと強烈な破壊兵器を作りますよ我々はそれよりも強力な兵器をまた作ればいいじゃないかそれは血を吐きながら続ける悲しいマラソンですよ
Ultra 7 was a huge inspiration on Hideaki Anno, the creator of Evangelion especially. A lot of his stark lighting choices and ways of framing scenes to visually express suffocating emotions have clear parallels with Ultra 7 episodes, especially those directed by Akio Jisoji. Jisoji was a 1960s new wave director with a distinct style of framing scenes in a very theatrical way and playing with light and shadow for extreme dramatic effect. The first few Ultra shows actually lean more toward horror and mystery than the vibrant, action-heavy superhero style we think of now. Oh, and all the Christian imagery in Evangelion? Probably Ultraman's fault as well. Eiji Tsuburaya was Catholic, and some might argue that Ultraman is basically a giant silver alien allegory for Jesus. I mean, Tsuburaya really liked to crucify the Ultras. Not to mention that when Ultraman shoots his signature beam, he literally makes a cross with his hands. Like, he is just exercising these kaiju. Every time you see an anime or tokusatsu character getting crucified, it's probably more of an Ultraman reference than a genuine Christian tribute. Some of you like to write whole damn master's theses on the Christian symbolism in Evangelion, when it could very well just be Hideaki Anno being an Ultraman nerd. He also liked to sneak direct Ultraman references into his works, such as this shot, where the position of the dots mirror the first 4 Ultra heroes. And also this shot, where their names are literally written on the ground in the Ultra language. When Anno was in college, he even shot a half-hour-long Ultraman fan film that you can find right here on YouTube, by the way. Anyway, here's a list of Anno's favorite Ultraman episodes if you want to check them out for yourself. But I have to warn you, getting into the really old Ultra shows, it's a very specific taste to be able to sit through like 50-year-old shows. So try for yourself and see. Some other prominent Japanese creators that have either talked about being a huge Ultraman fan or put put references into their works include Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball. Chi-Chi's original outfit is an obvious Ultra 7 reference. And then Jacko the Galactic Patrolman is just straight up an Ultraman parody. Then there's Hideo Kojima, creator of Metal Gear Solid. He's a huge Ultraman fan. He found inspiration in the more hopeful messages of the franchise, such as legacies being passed down from generation to generation, war and peace, making bonds and connections with others, and the cost of doing one's duty. Here's him showing off the Ultra merch he bought, and him talking about having a cameo in the newest Ultraman movie then. And here's him talking about getting traumatized by a certain episode of The Return of Ultraman. Ultraman just does not leave this man's mind for long, and neither does it leave the mind of Hideki Kamiya, the director of Bayonetta. He's a huge fan of the tokusatsu genre, even trying to dress like a toku hero when he was a teenager. See, you don't actually have to grow out of your nerd phase. Just make it your career and you can nerd out for the rest of your life. His upcoming game, Project GG, is pretty clearly inspired by Ultraman. Then there's Shu Takumi, creator of Ace Attorney, another blatant Ultraman reference in Steel Samurai. Next up is Rumiko Takahashi, creator of Inuyasha and Ranma. She likes to throw in Ultraman references too. Then there's Mamuru Oshi, director of the 1995 Ghost in the Shell, where the Major is not white. He thinks Ultra 7 was one of the most important TV shows ever made, and was heavily inspired by the themes of espionage in it. Good taste. He also loves throwing Ultraman parodies into his content. And so does Shoji Kawamori, creator of the Macross franchise, and the visions of Escaflowne, and the design of Optimus Prime. He actually designed some stuff for the Ultraman franchise itself. Another fan turned contributor to the Ultraman franchise is Chiaki Konaka, the writer of Digimon Tamers and Serial Experiments Lane. He got his start in the industry writing for Tsuburaya Productions, then created Ultraman Gaia for them, which is considered to be the best produced Ultraman show. I highly recommend it for newcomers to the franchise who aren't quite used to episodic shows, because it has a really good running plot. Anyway, those are just some big names. We'd be here all day if I listed every single creator who likes to reference Ultraman. To catch the references yourself, look out for alien characters with eyes like eggs, or human characters putting spoons over their eyes, or raising something into the air like they're about to transform, or putting on their glasses very dramatically, or suddenly rising with their fist really big, or doing the cross-arm beam pose, or shooting a beam out of their forehead, or doing Ultraman's battle cry of "Strike!" Or fighting against the sunset as silhouettes with very theatrical staging. That's all iconic to the Ultraman franchise. Oh, and there are some Western artists who like to sneak in Ultraman references too, like Garrett J. Wyatt, showrunner for Ben 10 and Transformers Animated, and Thomas Perkins, a Ben 10 character designer. Once you learn about Ultraman, you can no longer escape. That's not a bad thing though, because it's a good time to get into the franchise right now. The latest show that finished airing, Ultraman Z, is a really good gateway into the series. If you don't know where to start, just start there. It's available free and legally right on YouTube. I mean, depending on your region. But if it's region locked for you, I bet you know what to do from my previous videos. Ultraman Z has amazing cinematography, special effects, and a critically acclaimed story. The beginning might be a bit confusing because you're missing some context of the wider franchise, but just power through it and you should understand the story just fine. Tsuburaya Productions treats its fan base really well, so I would love to see more fans in the Western fandom. I highly recommend it for fans of superheroes, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gundam, old sci-fi in general, and of course, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and Godzilla. There's a lot of overlap among these fandoms. Basically, if you tend to like media that is usually geared towards 7-year-old boys, Ultraman is for you. Another good place to watch Ultra series legally is Shout Factory, where they have most of the classic Ultra shows, including the original and Ultra 7, and they have a few newer shows too. I recommend Ultraman X if you're into cyberpunk, Ultraman Orb if you're into cool guy protagonists, and Ultraman G if you're into the idea of a dorky teen protagonist who's secretly the son of the biggest villain in the Ultra franchise, or the ideal of an office worker who regularly gets possessed by an alien superhero.
すいません、ごめんなさい。足踏んでやるわ。踏んでやるな。助けて。
敵意を感じるな。戦ってもいいか。体借りんぞ。
何言って。
そこのお前、靴なんか踏んでねえ。言いがかりつけんな。踏むのは今からだ。
どこの野郎。
に喧嘩を売るのはな2万年早いぜ。
I watched the entirety of Ultraman G because of that one clip. Also, since it's Ultraman's 55th anniversary, so much exciting stuff is about to happen on July 10th, Ultraman Day. Tsuburaya Productions is doing a special 4-hour livestream event for the Western fans, from 5 p.m. PST to 9 p.m. PST. Mr. Susumu Kurobe and Miss Hiroko Sakurai, the actors of the hero and heroine of the original Ultraman, are going to be there. And so will Bin Furuya, Ultraman's first suit actor. They'll be answering fan questions and commentating on iconic Ultraman episodes. This is a truly once-in-a-lifetime chance, and you definitely shouldn't miss it. I will be there in chat, so I will see you there. Get your tickets at ultramanconnection.com or enter my giveaway for 5 tickets on Instagram or Twitter. I'll link the posts in the description below. Also on July 10th is the premiere of a new Ultra series, Ultraman Trigger. It's an alternate universe reimagining of the award-winning Ultraman Tiga, which came out in 1996. It's among the greatest shows in the franchise, and it was especially huge in China for my generation. I've probably seen it like hundreds of times, and so have all my Chinese classmates. And the amazing thing is, it holds up. It's so full of hope and optimism for science and humanity, yet it has so many episodes that will make you cry. Here's hoping Trigger can live up to it. Anyway, watch Ultraman. That's all I have to say. It will make you feel good and have hope in the future, even as the world seems to be falling apart around us. Thanks again to Tsuburaya Productions for sponsoring this video. Special shoutouts to my Patreon Guardian Lions, Benji Sudolcan, Darion, Do It Out of Spite, Jasonnebulaar, Jose Velazquez, Kytes Universe, Molly McAllister, Nikolas Coates, and Skye Doto. Also, a special thanks to Triblast for helping me with this video script, and Mike Dent for giving me permission to use his stuff from his article on Evangelion's connection to Ultraman. I'll link the article in the description.
それがお前の最後の地球外任務になった。
俺たちは守られていたんだ。俺たちの知らないうちに、俺たちの知らない場所で、俺たちの知らない敵からな。俺は彼らの心に応えたい。
Seriously, just go. What are you waiting for? It's on YouTube. Go.